Hi, everybody. Great to be here today. My name is Sagar Vaidya, and I'm Vice President of Clinical Development at Travere Therapeutics. I want to start by saying what an amazing conference this is. I think I've been chatting with a few of you over the last day or so, and what I've noticed is there's this amazing sense of optimism and connection in the community that is so heartwarming and really inspiring. And so I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the conference organizers who have worked so hard to put this together, particularly Danae, our fearless leader. So please, let's just acknowledge them real quick. Thank you so much. So today I'm going to talk to you about Pegtibatinase, and I apologize, that's a tough word to say, right? Pegtibatinase. Well, it's not a word that we chose. It was actually given to us based on the properties of the drug. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Pegtibatinase, and even though Travere is running these studies, as Margie mentioned, the drug was actually invented, here in Colorado by Dr. Jan Cross, who was a really pillar of the community and unfortunately passed away about 5 years ago. But we have been continuing on his legacy, and many, many people have been working on Pegtibatinase to bring us to this level where we are today. And I'm extremely honored to be here to be able to represent all of those people and the hard work that they put into it. So we only have 10 minutes, and I've already used up a couple. So I'm going to speak relatively quickly, but I want you to be sure that if there's something you don't understand or you have additional questions, please come up to us afterwards. There's a Q&A. We're also, several members of Travere team are here, and you can also reach out to us on the internet or by email. So first, of course, we start with the disclaimer. Pegtibatinase is a drug that's currently being studied, and it's not approved by any health authority like the FDA. We're going to talk about the studies that Pegtibatinase is being tried in these clinical trials, Compose, Harmony, and Ensemble. And the safety and effectiveness of Pegtibatinase is not yet established. So I want to start by saying, when we talk about Pegtibatinase and HCU, we are really talking about classical homocystinuria due to the deficiency of an enzyme called cystathionine-beta synthase, or CBS. Now, there are other genetic conditions due to deficiencies in enzymes, and they have developed very good therapies for some of these. And this is a class of drugs called enzyme replacement therapies, or ERT. That's an acronym you may hear. And this has been developed for the PKU, for example, you may have heard of. So that's exactly what Pegtibatinase is. It's meant to be an enzyme replacement therapy, and you can see here on the diagram in the orange, it's meant to be a modified version of the human CBS enzyme and given as an injection under the skin. Pegtibatinase was first tested in a study called Compose. Now, this is a clinical trial that's the first study in human to evaluate the safety and the drug effects of Pegtibatinase. So what were the objectives of this study? Well, first, definitely safety is the first thing. Whenever we study a new drug, we need to determine the safety of the different doses. We want to understand how these doses work in the body, what the dosing schedule is, and then what happens when you give Pegtibatinase, what happens to homocysteine levels and methionine levels. And finally, with the clinical outcomes, understanding over the long term, does Pegtibatinase affect any of the complications of classical homocystinuria? So we have a few answers to the first three. The fourth one is something that we're still studying, but hopefully we'll have more information on soon. So here is an overall kind of schema or drawing of the Compose trial. It's kind of complicated, but I'll explain it for you guys. So there are three main parts. The screening period, where we determine whether or not a participant is the right candidate for the study. Then there's a main treatment period, which is at least 12 weeks. And what's important to know about the main treatment period is it is what's called a double blind, which means that nobody knows what treatment they're on, and placebo controlled. So some of the participants, or about a quarter of the participants, are on placebo, and that's shown in gray. So in the main treatment period, there's 6 different doses that were tested. And finally, at the end, there's an optional treatment period where all participants have the opportunity to receive Pegtibatinase, and that's something that's called an open-label extension. So here are the results, which or how did the drug work, which we call efficacy. How do we measure the efficacy? And by looking at the changes in homocysteine. So in this graph, you can see on the bottom, we have the different groups. So we have the placebo group on the left in gray, and as we move to the right, we have increased doses, with the highest doses being all the way on the right side. And then we look and see, compared to prior to treatment, how did the homocysteine levels change? Well, what we see is at the highest dose, we have an approximately 67% reduction in homocysteine. So, well, what does this mean for us, right? Well, for people who are dealing with the condition? Well, oftentimes we look at these various thresholds. You may have heard your doctor say, we want you to be below 100 or below 50. So we look at it from this way as well. And here you can see on the left side is the second highest dose, cohort 5. On the right side is the highest dose, cohort 6. And after treatment, all of these participants were able to lower their homocysteine quite a bit. And some of them even got below 50, and some into the normal lab range below 15. Now let's talk a little bit about safety. That's a very important part of this phase 1/2 trial. So overall, Pegtibatinase was generally well tolerated. The most common side effect we did notice was injection site reaction. Now remember, this is a treatment that's injected twice a week. So almost all participants have some injection site reactions, but these are mostly mild and transient. We did see in 3 participants hives, or the itchy rash that you may have heard of or had in other conditions. This happened at the beginning of treatment. However, the treatment was stopped, and all of these participants were able to restart Pegtibatinase without any problem and complete the study. In addition, no participants stopped due to a side effect related to the drug, and importantly, there were no reports of severe allergic reactions or immune reactions. It's something that we always look for. Now, interestingly, one thing happened that we didn't expect, which is that one participant who is in the highest dose group actually had their homocysteine reach the normal lab range, less than 15, and also had their methionine get below the lab range. Now, in general, we don't want to have methionine that low. Didn't seem to cause any side effects, but in order to counteract that, natural protein was added to the diet during the open-label extension and continues to be monitored. And so while this wasn't a planned part of this study, I think it's important to highlight that Pegtibatinase could have potential effects on diet relaxation and quality of life as well. And that's something that we're going to look for in the next study. So just to summarize, Pegtibatinase was generally well tolerated, all doses tested without any reports of severe allergic or immune reactions. We had about a 67% reduction that was maintained throughout the 12-week period. Many of these participants were able to get below 100 or below 50, and one participant was able to actually add natural protein to their diet. Now, these are findings from a small study. They need to be verified in a confirmatory trial, but we are very encouraged by these results, and for the last year or more, we have been working quite hard with various stakeholders, including the FDA, including patient groups, as well as HCU, as well as physicians, to figure out, what is the next trial that's going to get this drug to be approved, if successful. And so I'm pleased to say that we have all come together on the phase 3 study, which is the large global clinical trial to really confirm the efficacy and safety of pegtibatinase, and that's called HARMONY. So this is a trial that has just started. It's going to be global, so in all the regions, the US, Europe, and the Gulf countries. And you can see overall here we have kind of the diagram of how this trial will go. So it's very similar in design in the sense that we have a screening period. We have this new period called the diet standardization period, which allows all the participants to be trained to maintain a stable diet. There's no requirement to be on a specific diet for this study, but you do have to maintain generally stable either diet and medications throughout that period. After that, there is a approximately 6-month period where you will randomize to either treatment with pegtibatinase or placebo, and that's important. That is the way that trials have to be done in order to prove that the effects are seen to the drug. But after that, there's the Ensemble long-term extension, which I'm very excited about. And this is a study that all of the patients from either HARMONY or from the COMPOSE study will come into. Again, all participants will be able to get pegtibatinase in this study. And there's some cool parts about this study, which I really want to, which at the bottom, you see there's an optional protein tolerance modification. So this is what Margie was talking about, which is that the strict diet with the limitation of natural protein, of course, we hear that that is the greatest limitation, and what can we do about that? So in Ensemble, we have developed a small study for participants who can reduce their homocysteine less than 50. It will be to see if we can add in natural protein in a controlled way in small increments and allow them potentially to have improved quality of life. So that's definitely a part of our study that we're very excited about. So just to summarize, the HARMONY trial is the phase 3 trial that will determine the safety and efficacy of pegtibatinase. Those who complete the study will have the option to enroll in Ensemble, which is our long-term extension study. All participants will get pegtibatinase, and there's an opportunity to potentially increase natural protein for those who are able to maintain their homocysteine below 50. So with that, I'd like to conclude with thanking all the participants and the families. We at Travere think about you every single day. You are our guiding light and our inspiration, and we absolutely could not advance these new therapies without you. We thank you for your courage and your time. And we'll turn it over to Ken. Thank you.